Let's get started with Israel Adesanya sends a warning to Draz Dupsy at UFC 305. Israel Adesanya will look to return to action and reclaim the middleweight title in Perth after losing the belt to Shaw Strickland last year at UFC 293, leading up to the long-awaited grudge match between Adesanya and Draz Dupsy. The Last Stylebender sent a warning to the champion while speaking in an interview on The Rock, as he explained he isn't just looking to retake his place at top the division and become the first three-time middleweight champion. He's looking to take Dupsy's head off.
And again, you said I'm looking to be the third, first three-time UFC middleweight champion. I'm not looking to do that. I'm looking to take his head off. And this is no wolf tickets. I feel different, so I just want to go in there, and I have nothing to lose, so that keeps me free. That keeps me free. I've already been the champion. Cool story, bro. But yeah.
Yeah, with Fight Night rapidly approaching, the M&A community seems incredibly divided on who they think gets the job done, with Adesanya sitting as a narrow -146 favorite and Dupsy sitting as a slight underdog with plus 114 odds on FanDuel. In addition, ahead of the fight, a rumor has been circulating suggesting that if Adesanya emerges, Spada could be inevitable after the UFC booked Magomed Ankalaev a fight at UFC 308 rather than a title fight. However, so far the rumors are unconfirmed, and it's unclear if Adesanya will move up in weight in pursuit of a trilogy fight against Pia. Next up, let's Robert Whittaker TLKX about Khamzat Chimaev fight. Take a look at Robert Whittaker talks about Khamzat Chimaev fight heading into UFC 305. It appeared as though there was a log jam of contenders at 185 olds, with both Sean Strickland and Robert Whittaker sitting on the cusp of a crack at the title, while Strickland has made it clear that he has no intentions of fighting anyone besides the middleweight champion. In the wake of his win over Paulo Costa, Whittaker was just booked to fight Khamzat Chimaev at UFC 308 in a high-stakes bout. Following the announcement, Whittaker spoke on his MMA Arcade podcast to discuss about and why he decided to accept the fight rather than waiting to see how things play out between Adesanya and Draz Dupsy on August 17th.
Chimaev is a hard fight. He's obviously a big draw, especially over there in Abu Dhabi. So he's a draw. And I think the UFC, story-wise, wants to see Chimaev get, a shot at the champion or whatever. They want to see Chimaev up the top of the ladder. They want to see him in that picture. But I love disrupting their plans. I love derailing their stories. That's why I took the fight. I asked for the fight. It wasn't offered to me. I asked for straight after the last fight. I was like, I saw that there was an Abu Dhabi card in October. Timeline fits perfectly, and I was like, I'll fight Chimaev again. Let's do it again. Just make sure he turns up. I look forward to hard fights. I look forward to these fights, and I know that if I beat Chimaev, there is nothing in my way to getting my belt back.
With Whittaker booked to fight Jade and Strickland uninterested in serving as the backup fighter at UFC 305, it's unclear who the promotion will have weigh in as the backup fighter in case either of the two main event fighters are forced out of the bout on short notice. Next up, let's take a look at Sean O'Malley Revel's plans after next fight. Sean O'Malley reveals plans after next fight. Over the weekend, Umar Nurmagomedov picked up the biggest win of his career, defeating Corey Sandhagen to earn his 6th straight win inside the octagon. After the win in Abu Dhabi, Nurmagomedov was officially named the bantamweight #1 contender by Dana White, setting the streaking contender up for a fight with the winner of the upcoming Ali Devich fight the way Sean O'Malley sees things. However, after this fight with Morab Devash at UFC 306, he has a number of options on his plate. As a result, the champion isn't sold on the idea of a bout between him and Needle for his next fight. During a recent episode of his Timbo Sugar Show, Ali weighed in on the bantamweight title picture and his future.
It's an interesting matchup. O'Malley versus Nurmagomedov. One way I could become bigger than Conor, like I've claimed I've wanted to be, is do what he couldn't do. Beat a Nurmagomedov, take away the O, and do what Conor. He's already mad at me, jealous, but this without really. So.
Did Dana say that's what would be next?
No, I haven't really talked to him. Figgy beat Cheeto on the same card. Figgy called me out. That could be next. I don't know. Max versus Ely is coming up. would love an opportunity to go up to 45.
As Ellie went on to explain, a fight between Nurov and Davidson Figueroa could make sense in the meantime if he decides to move up and wait for his next bout. However, with White naming Nurmagomedov the #1 contender, the promotion may not be interested in seeing Ali move up in weight right. Now up next, Dana White gets called out. Dana White gets called out for being a hypocrite, while Dana White has been an outspoken critic of boxers padding their records rather than fighting the best of the best. White has continued to talk up a heavyweight title fight between John Jones and Stipe Miocic, rather than a title unification bout between Jones and Tom Aspin, going so far as to say that Aspin doesn't deserve anything as the interim champ, given that White has continued to prioritize the quote-unquote legacy fight between Jones and Meek, despite the fact that it will hold up the division and the fact that both fighters might retire after their fight. Ben Isran feels as though White has become a hypocrite.
Yeah, you know what? I almost feel like maybe John's got some dirt on Dana or something, because Dana generally would not put up with this type of behavior. He would say, and this is what the UFC's been founded on, where boxing wasn't, is we want the best guys to fight. We want to see who the actual best guy is. We don't want to, waste time with shenanigans. We don't want, to pad records to go to 40-0. We don't do that. That's what boxing does. In the UFC, we put the best guys in there and we see who wins.
As White explained after Aspin's recent victory over Curtis Blades at UFC 304, he would be shocked if Jones decided to retire after his fight with Stipe Miocic, rather than test himself against Aspin before riding off into the sunset. While nothing has been announced by the UFC, yet the expectation is that Jones and Miocic will collide at UFC 309 at Madison Square Garden in November. Next, let's UFC fight updates. Take a look at UFC fight updates heading into this weekend's Tora versus Spivak 2 card at the Apex. Let's take a look at today's UFC fight updates, starting with a new addition to the UFC Vegas 99 card on October 19th with Jessica Penny set to fight Elise Reed. Penny broke the news on her podcast, revealing that she will be back in action after a year and a half away from the Anagon, following a loss to Tabitha Rai back in March of 2023, which put her on a 2-fight skid. On the flip side, Reed will be looking to return from a year-long hiatus of her own that most recently saw her lose to Lupita Gins back in September. In addition, a fight between Chris Weidman and Eric Anders has been added to the UFC 309. See on November 16th, with Weidman looking to build on a controversial victory over Bruno Silva back in March that saw the former champion repeatedly eye-poke his opponent throughout the fight and the finishing sequence. On the flip side, Anders will be looking to build on a March victory over Jamie Pickett, which saw him return to the win column after a loss to Mark Andrabarrel last summer. Daniel Cormier opposes the new 12-6 elbow rule. Next, let's take a look at Daniel Cormier opposes the new 12-6 elbow rule. Recently, the Association of Boxing Commissions and Combative Sports, also known as the ABC, decided to change the unified rules of MMA to allow 12-6 elbows, while many, including Joe Rogan, believe that the change was long overdue. Daniel Cormier feels as though the legalization of 12-6 elbows sets a dangerous precedent in MMA. On the recent episode of Funky and the Champ, Cormier spoke about the situation, saying that he fears one rule could open the door to further rule changes that could set MMA back.
Rules
Soccer
again,
kids, I agree. Thumbs down.
then it's going to be more and more and more, and then ultimately we'll get back to soccer kicks.
Well,
Because
I
now
actually
you do know that now, hands down, starting in November, is not
That's
grounded
great.
anymore.
That's perfect.
It is perfect. But again, that's one
That's
move
clarity.
back
If
towards
that one
that.
has clarity, so they got to put a knee down.
Then there'll be something else that moves closer to that, and then that's just my
You should
biggest
get the
worry.
knee the downed opponent.
While 12-6 bows are now legal techniques, so far there's been no official talk of soccer kicks and knees to the head of grounded opponents being legalized, despite fighters like Demetrius Johnson wanting grounded knees to be made legal across the board. Next,